Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and we have several really good questions from inside the Red Raider subscribers leading up to Texas Tech's in-state, in-conference matchup at Houston, 6 p.m. Saturday. That game will be televised on ESPN. But let's get to these questions. Like I said, we have several good ones. The first one comes from Raider Power 7796. He says, when Cooper Hackett, 5-star 2027 offensive lineman out of Oklahoma. He flipped to OU. He talked about his future making money in the NFL. A Tech fan pointed out on X that Tech has two former offensive linemen who became billionaires after football. Yeah, that's a good point. Obviously, Cody Campbell, John Sellers, what they do at Double Eagle, or continue to do. I know they've sold it several times and clearly made a lot of money, but I don't know if they have time. I know at least Cody, I imagine John Sellers as well, is very busy. Cody's doing a lot in terms of trying to save college football, trying to save Texas Tech sports, and not to mention, run a business and who knows what else the man does. And also, I mean, you could teach some life skills and things like that, but I don't know if you could teach someone how to become a billionaire. How do you be smart? How do you look for the right trends? How do you have the right timing? All those things. But maybe like a speech to the team instead of and then somebody else runs some kind of system. And I know in talking with Tech, once the NIL thing started happening, that they were setting up people to talk to the athletes about, doing their taxes, saving their money, investing their money wise and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff has been in place. Barron on an interview with Matt Leinart on Fox going into the Utah game, he mentioned buying a bunch of land, which is usually a good investment. And most of the guys I talk to, don't get me wrong, you go through the parking lot, you see the big trucks, you see the sports cars, stuff like the muscle cars. A lot of Dodge Chargers in the parking lot all of a sudden after NIL came to be. So, yeah, I mean, who could blame them for spending a little of their coin? I would have when I was that age. I probably would now, to be honest. If you get that kind of, that big chunk of money there over the course of a school year. So, but sounds like they are investing it wise in a lot of cases, though, which is good to hear, and I've often wondered, I wonder what kind of economic impact this will have, having, instead of, to me, it seems like the wealth is being spread out more. Instead of, a handful of people or let's say dozens of people, a lot of that wealth has been spread out to these players, and they're going to reinvest. Like I just talked about Barron buying land, a lot of these guys buying cars, buying homes, and reinvesting this money in several areas. I think that's good. I think that's good for I don't know if it'll just be a drop in the bucket. I'm not an economist, but I have thought about that. I wonder if one trickle effect of this is it could help, the country's economy. But again, I'm out of my element. I have no idea if that'll just be a drop in the bucket, but figure it can't hurt. Next question comes from SOS 2979. He said the old OC versus the new OC, and do the same with the DC. He actually pointed out a lot of stuff that he made some really good points, but to save time, it's 3 or 4 graphs long. But you did make good points, SOS. So it'll still be there in print with the story when I post the video. So Tim DeRuyter, I was a big fan of Tim DeRuyter. I still am in a way. I was very disappointed in. Look, I knew the team was going to be younger, especially in the secondary, but the lack of communication, some of the complicated things they were trying to do in scheme in terms of, I had a couple of players tell me they were changing coverage after the snap, that sounds very complicated, especially for a younger defensive player. So obviously the talent, I do think, and another part of SOS's question is the improvement we see on offense due to better coaching scheme, or would Kidley have been able to do similar results? Same thing with DeRuyter. So I do think DeRuyter would have had a lot of success with this personnel, but the communication has been terrific. Every players playing very fast. They seem to know exactly what they need to be doing on every play, and that is the total opposite of last season. So that has nothing to do with talent. That's coaching. So while I am a big fan of Tim DeRuyter, I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I do like how he, which this is a big part of being a coordinator, but I like how he disguises his blitzes. I liked how he was aggressive when defending, trying to keep the other team from scoring in terms of once they crossed the 50 or once they got in the red zone. But the communication last year was terrible, and I thought the scheme got a little overly complicated, in my humble opinion. Now, in terms of Kitley, I mean, top 10 offense. Um, he did a terrific job. I mean, yeah, he had Taj, but he was able to pivot and kind of move away from the Atmo 50 burger kind of mentality to win, which was running the ball, controlling the clock, wearing down the opposing team, and keeping your defense off the field because, man, it was not good last year, especially, well, period. It wasn't good. You had J-Rod and a couple other dudes playing pretty well, but for the most part, that was a really bad defense. So I thought Kelly did a good job. I think he would do a good job with the personnel this year. But I do like Mac Lefritz's the fact that he attacks the middle of the field much more than Kitley did. You see a lot more crossing routes, mesh concepts, things of that nature. I love the option routes they have where, both the quarterback and receivers read the defense and the DBs so they could change their routes and take advantage of what the defense is trying to do or doing. So I really like Lefritz's scheme from that perspective. They use a lot of motion, which is good in terms of determining the coverage and things like that, and getting favorable matchups for your guys. I love what he's done with Jacoby Williams, splitting them out. That big play at Utah was huge. 73-yard catch and run off a simple crossing route on a 3rd and long. Really got Tech off to a good start offensively. So I think they've upgraded with the coordinators. Now, they've upgraded with the talent. There's no arguing that. So it's amazing how much better of a coach one appears when they have better players. That's funny how that works. But I do like both their schemes. I like what I've seen. I do think it's an upgrade. But I do think DeRuyter and Kitley would have success with this personnel as well. Red Raider KA wants to know, what's your opinion of Cole Wisniewski? And I've worked really hard on that pronunciation. Go on the pronunciation guide. Wisniewski is what it says on Tech's guide. So if I get it wrong, hey, don't blame me. That's the pronunciation guide. I want to say Wisniewski so bad, but Wisniewski is how they say you pronounce it. Cole's been great. Now, the secondary, I wrote a story earlier this week and asked defensive coordinator Sheil Wood about the secondary because the defensive front, the defensive line, and the linebackers have gotten so much attention, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been absolutely dominant. Number 2 defense in the country in terms of against the run. I think in scoring, it's top 10 or top 15. I can't remember. Math's not my strong suit, but as you probably already gathered, listen to me trying to talk about economics. But Cole's been good tackler. He's played his free safety role. You haven't seen opposing teams get behind the defense a lot. They haven't had a lot of time because of that defensive front, but still, you feel really good with him back there knowing that he's your free safety. He's the guy who's, obviously the last resort in terms of stopping somebody from scoring. Big player, 6'4", 225. Really cool dude, too. Interviewed him Big 12 Media Day, talked to him for a while. It was weird. It was like nobody wanted to talk to him. And I know Barron was there and some other, like Romello and stuff like that, but Lee Hunter, all big personalities. But Cole Wisniewski is a very interesting dude, very thoughtful person. I think he's a very intelligent football player. Definitely, he doesn't always translate, but he plays with an awareness and intelligence. That's something that Coach Wood talked about, and I agree. Good tackling, great in coverage. I expect him to get 2 or 3 interceptions at least this year, even though a third of the season's already over. He just hadn't been tested a whole lot, but he will be a little bit more than he has so far throughout the season. But I think Cole's been great. TTU Braves Rock wants to know, did joining the team in January give – I should have looked up this pronunciation. Mario Aquintac a leg up on other 4 and 5s on the roster other than Toppin, of course. I mean, certainly doesn't hurt. The fact, I mean, he came injured, so he had to rehab, but he's been working out, the training table, all those advantages of being in a big basketball program like Texas Tech, getting to know his teammates, the kind of the chemistry and stuff like that. So I definitely think it helps. But in the end, talent, when talent and hard work beats almost everything. Texan 44 says, based on the Monday presser, Coach Joey McGuire said they are healthy and got a few guys back this week that have been out to start the season. Who I expect to contribute this season out of that bunch? Yeah, there's a couple of guys. I mean, not a whole lot, to be honest. Cash Cleveland's somebody to watch, but again, McGuire told me at Big 12 Media Day that seemed more as a future type deal in terms of they got him because he was just a freshman last year. He's just a sophomore. They lost some guys in the portal. One you might see that I think maybe they weren't expecting in Dalton Merriman, who went back home to Houston and is starting there. So honestly, out of that group, nothing like too soon. But for depth, if somebody goes down, it's going to be really nice to have those guys for sure. And they could sub in and give, for example, Cash. Some can give some of the guys on the offensive line maybe a blow or a or a rest. He could play center, of course. That's where he played at Colorado, or any of the two guard positions as well. So it's really nice to have him back. Tall Cole says, taking into account Tech football this season only, would you rather be in the Big 12 or the SEC right now? Big 12. It's easy. It's a fun conference. You have regional kind of rivalries, unpleasantness at least. I wouldn't know if you call it a rivalry. In teams like TCU, Houston, Baylor, Oklahoma State even. I guess you could throw like a Kansas State, Iowa State, just because you played them so many times now. But also just the degree of difficulty. It seems like it'd be easier to win a conference championship, the Big 12 this year. Now, moving forward, of course, you'd want Tech to be in the SEC, or at least have some kind of assurance that when the music stops and this conference realignment, whenever it becomes what it is, whether it be a super conference, a whole new league, all those things, whatever it is, that Tech has a seat at the table. That's the end game. But only this season, like you said, then that's easy. Big 12 for me. But if there's only two, then again, if it's a certainty, and I don't think it is, but if it is that only one Big 12 school is getting in, then you might want to be in the SEC, because I do think Tech could be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the SEC this season. It's a completely different animal when you're playing like another really good team, or you're just having a brawl every week where you just get beat down. But I mean, they have more depth, they have more talent, they have more size, they have more speed, they have more experience than almost all the previous 99 teams Texas Tech has had. Definitely the last 12. So that's a good question. I do think, though, I would rather be in the Big 12 if I was Texas Tech for this season. Mass Tech said a lot of young players got extra snaps during the bye week. Who are some of the younger players that you've heard are turning heads in practice and will contribute next year? Yeah, the young receivers, local receivers, Michael Deaver and Layton Stone have been very good. Tristan Gentry, though I think he's hurt this week. He's been your punt returner. That's somebody they like a lot. So the young receivers they really like a lot. Bryson Jones is another one. He caught at least 2 touchdown passes in those early games when he got some time. Some of the offensive linemen, trying to think. Oh, man. No, I can't think of any of the offensive linemen necessarily. Deep, like a lot of the outside linebackers, like Eddie Smith's, Cheeto Philly, which I hope I pronounced that right, is somebody that they really like and they're excited about. Some of the safeties, some of the young guys, Malik Esquera, Peyton Morgan. There's another one too in there that they really like. Good question. I know I'm leaving some offensive linemen out, young guys, but they like the young depth. it's weird because you expect, okay, so in a couple of year, or a year or two, these guys will really come up, but with the transfer portal, you just really don't know anymore. But there's definitely some young talent they like, especially in the trenches and receiving core, both sides. And then at safety, I really like some of those redshirt freshmen that are just, let's be honest, injury away, a snap away from being counted on. And I think they would play really well. I really do. Let it fly. This is a final question. Comes from him. Says, how do you see Tech taking advantage of 3 rival regional schools that Tech recruits against regularly in their current predicaments? Arkansas, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. Well, Baylor's still recruiting well. I don't know that they belong in that group. Arkansas, I mean, generally they do. Obviously, with everything that's going on with the program, not so much. Oklahoma State's a dumpster fire. So how they take advantage, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the list that, especially with the 2027 class, because the 2026 class is pretty much done. No, probably one more commit. But with 27, I mean, all the guys that they're going after, you're basically going after or going against the biggest schools, but the biggest schools with the deepest pockets. I mean, you're battling Oklahoma or Ohio State, A&M, LSU, Miami, those are the offer lists you're seeing. The regional schools that used to really lose a lot of recruits too, like Oklahoma State, Baylor, Arkansas. I mean, they're not really in the mix a lot anymore. Trying to think about last time I really saw that and thought of them as a real threat. Tech's commitment to investing in recruiting is really up there with Texas, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Georgia. You know, Oklahoma has come. Oklahoma was somebody I counted out just a week ago, and they obviously got pissed off and got some money behind them, and they've been going after people, including Cooper Hackett, who we mentioned before. But yeah, it's a different world. We got to start thinking differently. Like, I don't know, in terms of those schools you mentioned, how much Tech could take advantage. Now, I'm not saying that none of those schools have any prize recruits, but a lot of the guys Tech are going after are 5-star dudes, one of the top 3 or 4 at their position nationally. And Arkansas maybe a little bit, but Oklahoma State and Baylor, they're just honestly not in the mix for most of those recruits. But hey, that's going to do it. Big game for Texas Tech at Houston, 6 p.m. Saturday on ESPN. Last I saw, Tech was favored by, I think, 11.5 or 12.5. So another opportunity for Texas Tech to make a statement against an undefeated team on the road. I can't wait. Great questions from everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and until next time.